Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes.
And I'm Simon Mann.
And we're at the spiritual home of English cricket, Edgbaston, for the first day's play in this second test between England and India. If we look at the way Betfair recorded the game, when England won the toss and put India into bat, 56% was the chance of England winning the match, and India were down at about 35%. Then at tea, when India were 182 for 3, it was looking really pretty good for India. Actually, the odds were about even. And since then, with England taking a couple of extra wickets, but India scoring another 100 runs, it's now England's slight favourites. Do you see it like that?
Well, those are extraordinary odds in a way, because India have 310 runs in the bank. They've still got 5 wickets left. They've still got Shubman Gill there, who's played splendidly, and they've still got Ravi Jadeja there with a bit of batting to come. But I suppose it's a mark of how good England are at playing from behind, of catching up, despite the fact that the opposition may go on to score 400 in their first innings. I mean, traditionally, we know this, don't we? Traditionally, you get 400 in a test match, you feel you're right in the game, you're on top, you've got those runs for the other team to try and chase down. But this England side, they're just at you the whole time. And, it was another decision at the toss, wasn't it, to put the opposition in when you think, well, the forecast was good, the pitch is flat, there's no Jasprit Bumrah in the India side, why not have a bat first? But that is not the way Ben Stokes does it, and you just expect it now, don't you? These weren't putting in conditions in a traditional sense, but they're putting in conditions in modern Ben Stokes England sense.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at the stats also, 33 is the average run scored per wicket on the first day of an Edgbaston test. So an average score is 33 per wicket. On the last day, over the last sort of 10 years, it's 31. So it shows that the pitch doesn't deteriorate that much, only 2 runs less per wicket on the 5th day compared to the first day. And if you look at the scores...
Does that not mean you should still bat first? Because it's 33 to 31, there's a slight advantage?
But England just fancy chasing, don't they? And one other interesting thing about this test is, I'm sure you've noticed it as well, and you would have probably said it on commentary, the boundaries.
Yeah.
The boundaries, I mean, we're just looking behind us here, the boundary rope, which is well in from the perimeter of the ground. I mean, in some places, I'm looking over there at sort of long, deep mid wickets or long on at this end. It's just marginally 65 yards, which is the minimum you're allowed to do. You can't go any less than that. And 65 yards, obviously something that England have. It's a part of the plan in a way to enable.
And what is that plan then?
Well, enabling the batters to hit big sixes and to be aggressive, to get boundaries really, because you're bringing the boundaries in. Miss hits are going for 4 and 6. And actually, interestingly, I just compared the boundaries to boundaries 20 years ago at the Test match here in 2005, when of course England again were quite canny, and they managed to get the boundaries brought in for that Ashes series against Australia 2005. Again, for the same sort of reasons, that they were looking to be positive, help players like Peterson, Flintoff, etc. hit boundaries. The boundaries were quite similar to today, but very much on the limit of what you're allowed.
So you're saying these boundaries, even though we turned up this morning, we looked at them and thought, hold on, that looks, they've made the ground much smaller. You're saying that they did that 20 years ago. So it's actually a tactic they've used before, but it's not a tactic they've used much since. The boundary's normally back here.
I think it's quite stark, the difference that we're seeing today. So I don't think they've done it quite to this level. I mean, yeah, you see boundaries in quite a bit more nowadays than you used to.
But more in one-day cricket.
But more in one-day cricket, exactly. I mean, it's certainly not safety, is it, with this? I mean, I can see 10 security guards down below us who've got acres of room. You could play an under-6s game between the boundary and the fence, actually.
I used to love boundaries like that when I was 11 years old, if it was that small.
We must just show you them, actually, while we're here, just to point out exactly where they are. So if you're watching this on video, you can see exactly what we're talking about, how far in the boundary rope is compared to the fence. I mean, it is amazing, really. So, looking at the day overall, Simon, early wicket for England, of course, KL Rahul. I thought Chris Woakes bowled superbly on his home ground. You said, actually, on our last podcast that he perhaps needed a bit of a run out, and he got that at Headingley. He wasn't quite at his best, but I thought today, his first 4 overs, the only runs he conceded was one leg glance. for a boundary to Jaiswell, and he got a wicket as well. So first spell, 4 overs, 1 for 4, and he really set the tone.
Well, he seems to me, and I think he said it himself, he's one of those bowlers that needs to bowl. I mean, some bowlers you feel that they need a break. He needs to bowl and just be in that rhythm, and he's probably much better for his run out at Headingley. It's also his home ground as well, so he kind of knows the conditions, knows the feel of the place, feels at home. And he was pretty unlucky actually not to get more than the 2 wickets he took. He had 2 umpires' calls, one against Jaiswell when he'd made 12, one against Karan Nair when he'd made 5. And I think one was a no-shot run padding up, wasn't it? And I just think you could just see his reaction. I mean, he's a very mild-mannered man, the nicest man in cricket, Chris Woakes. I mean, that's kind of his sobriquet, isn't it? But
he's got a tattoo, did you read?
Has he?
He's got a tattoo of his dad in a flat cap.
No,
who died recently, so in memory of his dad he's got a tattoo. I don't see him, Chris Woakes, as a man with a tattoo.
No, I don't, nor do I. But anyway, but even he got a bit riled up by the fact that both those were turned down. He was at one point he was saying to the umpire, you could almost just read his body language. Come on, he's played no shot there. He's padded up. It's clipped the top of the off stump. That really, natural justice. You should be giving those out. That seemed to be the gist of it. Anyway. But umpire Shafadullah, he actually turned down 3 during the day that were umpires' calls. So it could have been a better day for England. But no, he bowled really well, didn't he? And what do they do for the next game? And Jofra Archer clearly I think is right in the frame to play at Lords. Who misses out?
Well, Josh Tongue on the evidence.
But potential evidence of today, and of course Chris Woakes had something with the bat as well. Definitely at number 8, which is important and was important at Headingley. But and also at Lords is his ground as well. So it could well be that he plays back to back to back. Plays all 3 Test matches.
When you say Lords is his ground,
well, he's got a fantastic record there. Yeah. He runs and wickets.
Yes. He's one of the only people on both honours boards batting and bowling for 105 wickets, isn't he? Yeah.
Anyway, so he was really good today, and another day. I think you can all say that kind of another day. He could have taken more wickets and could have been in a better position in the game. He's also the only bowler to consistently bowl some maidens today. He bowled 6. Yeah. Bryden Cast bowled 2, and the rest of the bowlers didn't bowl a single maiden all day. I suppose that's kind of the way England play as well, isn't it? It's not about maidens so much. It's looking for wickets. It's not necessarily about bottling it up. But.
Yeah. So the progress of the day. So England, bowled pretty well in that first spell. Cast was also good, and I thought India, they made some changes, didn't they? They brought Karan Nair into bat at number 3, which I thought was quite a risk because although Karan Nair has made a 100 for India way back against England, he was batting at number 5. He's never batted in a Test match at number 3 before, and interestingly, after his 300 against England in 2016 or something, his next highest Test score is 26. Putting him in at number 3, a big call, I thought. And he played okay, he got some quite nice half volleys away, but eventually got a good ball from Cast, which bounced a bit extra, didn't it?
That ball might got a few people out. It might got a few people out.
It was a very good ball. I agree. It was a really good ball from a bowler, Cast, who was nudging 90 miles an hour a few times actually. So it was impressive on a fairly dead track. But then we had a very good partnership between Shubman Gill and Jaiswell. Jaiswell, I mean, he's an exciting player, isn't he? He's not entirely orthodox, and he likes to kind of give himself a bit of room off the back foot and try and slash it through the offside. And he played and missed a few times, and he also hit a few. He hit one shot which looked as if it belonged in Wimbledon rather than Edgbaston, with a sort of backhanded to smash which went over cover. And Stokes got a bit annoyed because he thought the fielder should have stopped it or something, but it was a pretty clever shot. And he was all set, you'd have thought, for another 100. Because he was looking very good. He was playing some absolutely majestic off drives.
It's glorious to the offside.
Yeah, and Shubman Gill was looking composed, and he's got a very sort of economical method, hasn't he, Shubman Gill? He's very doesn't move around much at the crease. He's very sort of simple in his style. Looks very relaxed. Plays lovely shots through cover and through the square leg area, pull shots and things. I mean, he just never looks flustered or in trouble, does he? And he and Jaiswell, did well. But if you look at India's fall of wickets over the day, the first one fell at 15, Rahul, then 95, so reasonable second wicket stand, then 161, Jaiswell was out there cutting at Stokes, 208 Pant, we'll come to that, and 211 ready. So there were three stands that were sort of reasonable, 70 or 80, but they didn't kick on after that. And I suppose that would be one of the stories of the day, really, that India got in, but apart from Gill, they also got out. And England were able to sort of hold them at bay, although I suppose, at the end of the day, 310 for 5 is not a bad score, actually.
The problem is, with this England side, you don't know what sort of score that is yet. And you can probably say that the whole time.
Yeah.
You wait till both teams have batted. But I think there's that fear in the back of your mind if you're an opposition team against England in English conditions that, we need a few more. And then when we got a few more, we need a few more after that. So 310 is kind of like an okay-ish sort of score, but India really need to build on it tomorrow. What did you think of the pitch? I mean, how good is this surface? Is it a flat pitch on which a team should realistically score 500, 550 if they're given the opportunity to bat first?
Yes, I think it is.
That's potentially the problem for India, isn't it? Is that 310 for 5 is okay-ish, but actually, does this pitch demand that they be 370 for 3 like they were after the first day at Headingley?
I think if you look at how easily Ravi Jadeja played, coming in at number 7 and getting to 40 without really playing too many aggressive shots and never looking in much trouble, although the second new ball bounced a little bit and he got one lucky four, didn't he? But apart from that, he's looked very calm and relaxed at the crease. So to me, it's a flat pitch. And listen, I've just come from Southampton, from the Utilita Bowl, where I saw Worcester get 679 over 2 days. That match was drawn because Hampshire managed to play out the game. I also watched a bit of the game at Surrey, where Surrey got 800. This isn't quite as good a pitch, but it's similar. It's flat. There's not much bounce.
Why is it not quite as good?
Well, it hasn't got quite the same pace, I suppose. It looks quite slow. So, it may be harder to dominate the bowling, but it doesn't look hard to stay in. It really doesn't look as if there's much there. I think England were finding a little bit of reverse swing in the last sort of 10 overs with the old ball, but the fact is, we can see them now. They're watering the outfield. They watered the outfield at Headingley as well to deny the likes of Bumrah the opportunity for a reverse swing. It might reverse a little bit here, but it's so lush, isn't it? They've kept it very green, so I don't think it's going to reverse that much. So I think it should be a game where 450 is your minimum, really.
Yeah. Will it spin? you think the weather we've been having, you think, well, if it's not going to spin in England after the weather we've been having, when is it going to spin? What hope is there for spin bowlers if it's not going to spin?
I don't think does it matter if it's going to spin now anyway? You've got players like Duckett and Pant and people like that who play all these crazy shots. I almost don't think it bothers them that it spins. And yet, then
so it's got to be a real problem. It's got to rag like it does in India sometimes.
But I think it's more about the uneven bounce. In India, it spins and keeps low, or spins and bounces, and that's when it makes it hard. If the bounce is fairly consistent, it does make spin easier to play. And then again, we've got these short boundaries as well. So we'll see. But now, time for the Betfair heated exchange. I don't know how heated we're going to be here, but one area I thought England got it wrong today was going to the leg theory bouncer tactics in about the 18th over. They'd taken an early wicket. Karen there was looking okay, but suddenly they decided to go with the bouncers, and I just thought it was too predictable. The bouncers were every ball from Josh Tongue at one end and a fair few from, I think Stokes was bowling a bit at the other end, and all the fielders were back on the boundary. At one point they had a man directly behind the wicket keeper as well on the boundary, a sort of backstop, and everybody behind square on the leg side practically, and a couple of men behind square on the offside. And I just thought every ball's a bouncer. Josh Tongue in that period was hit for 42 off 6 overs. He never really looked dangerous. He never looked like a sort of top edge, just fell short or anything. I just thought that England got that wrong.
Yeah, but okay, you've got various sort of tactical options, haven't you? Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. They'd have looked at Plan A and it worked for a bit. Chris Woakes bowled well, but like you said, is a flat pitch. So you need to try to do something different. And Jaiswal, look, he's glorious through the offside. Okay, they did get him out eventually, cutting it one wide of off stump. He played missed quite a lot. isn't that one way in which you can take him on? You can challenge him with a short ball. Didn't we say at Headingley that he looked a little bit suspect when you bang it in short? He plays that sort of flinching defensive shot where he brushes it away off his body. And I think that the point being is it wasn't something they used all day. It's just they went to it. I suppose the point is when you put a side in, you don't expect them to be, using leg theory, bang it in short after an hour and a half, do you? You think, well, hold on a second, there's got to be surely there's a bit more in the surface that, and last a bit longer for the bowlers than this. So that kind of why it probably looked a bit odd, but it's not unusual for England to come up with this tactic, is it?
It isn't, but it is, I think, in the 18th over when the ball's quite new and still doing a bit. So,
but do you not think it's a tactic? It was more specifically a tactic for Jaiswal, wasn't it? Trying to take him out of his comfort zone?
Maybe, but it didn't work, and they reverted back to orthodox cricket in the end. So I don't know. I think they need to sort of rethink that a little bit, especially as the boundaries are in here as well. So a top edge could easily go for 6. So I don't know. I just didn't particularly like it, but more power to them. Maybe the next time it'll work. Now we'll take a quick break. But I would just like to say I spent a bit of time today in the Hollies stand. And as I mentioned at the start...
Did you get the party going, did you?
Well, I didn't get it going, but I certainly experienced it. And I thought I'd just share a little bit of that with you because it is England's 12th man. It is the spiritual home of English cricket. And you can hear from the chants here exactly why England love playing here. We'll see you after the break. So, it was a great experience actually in the Hollies stand. I know it's not for everyone's taste. Sometimes you need earplugs. But actually it was a very jolly, kind of jaunty, very convivial sort of atmosphere. And, actually the best bit, funnily enough, was when Reddy, the number 6, who we'll talk about in a minute, who was added to the India team in this match, Nitish Kumar Reddy, shouldered arms to Chris Woakes, lost his off stump. And there was a lot of cheerioing from the Hollies stand afterwards. You'll hear that at the end of the show, actually. But it was just you can see how they give England energy and spirit and so on. And I thought England's fielding today was particularly noticeable. How they dived and they chased everything and threw themselves around. I noticed Joe Root, shying at the stumps and threatening to throw the stumps down and jogging in between balls to shine the ball and then jogging around the field to hand the ball to another fielder or back to the bowler. And the energy I thought England showed in the field. A couple of shies at stumps. Stokes hit the stumps once.
That's a brilliant piece of fielding,
but
it?
Gill was just home. And even though England didn't take a run out, they didn't take an amazing catch or anything, I think you feel their presence, the fielder's presence, even on the boundary, sort of diving stops from Duckett and things like that. I think you feel that as a batting team, and it has a sort of cumulative effect. And that was one of the reasons why England were able to take a few of those wickets. I mean, they didn't dominate the day, but I think they sort of held India in check anyway.
I think one of the fascinating things about when England win the toss is that they're not expecting to bowl the opposition out for 150, 200 in the traditional sense. Are they? They're looking to. They've got an idea in mind about what the opposition can score. Okay, it wasn't 471. They didn't have that in mind at Headingley. They certainly didn't have 430 for 3 in mind at Headingley. But so they have to keep that energy going in the field because it's not. You can't have a situation when you win the toss and put the opposition in and they're 100 for 1 or whatever. You can't have a situation with heads going down because you almost expect that to happen. It's part of the game. You play the long game rather than the short game. So it's not the old traditional way. I remember Trevor Bailey always used to say on Test match special, if you put the opposition in, you expect to have them 5 down at lunch. England don't expect to have the opposition 5 down at lunch, do they? They probably say, well, having them 5 down at the close of play is okay because we can catch up. So therefore, you have to have that positive attitude in the field. You can't have a heads down, oh, they're not 50 for 5 attitude. You have to have okay, we're chipping away, we're keeping it going, we're playing as a team, we're keeping that pressure on the opposition kind of attitude, so that you do hope to dismiss them for 350, 380 or something like that. I'd love to. They probably wouldn't tell you, but I'd love to ask the England players when they put the opposition in, what are they looking to try to bowl them out for? Is there kind of like an acceptable level But I think those levels are much higher with this England side putting the opposition in than they have been traditionally in the game.
So instead of thinking we bowl them out for 250, you're thinking we bowl them out for 380.
380 gives us a chance, because we back our batters against their bowling attack. It might not. I mean, India might get 318. It might not pan out like that. England might get rolled for 200. But I think that's kind of what they're thinking. I mean, what they're obviously not thinking is 550, 600, because that takes the game away from you. And it might well be this surface does demand a team score 500, 550 in their first innings, because it is decent for batting. But it's an attitudinal shift, I think, and we've all had to change our attitude to the way, because of the way that England play. It challenges people's preconceptions about the game.
So what did you think of India's batting overall? I mean, Shubman Gill was the standout. He's a brilliant player, isn't he?
He's a lovely player, yeah. I like watching Jaiswal bat as well. We've extolled his virtues many times in the past. In fact, he's got a fantastic record against England. I mean, he's remarkable today. I mean, some batsmen do linger, don't I mean, no one lingers longer than Jaiswal. I thought, has he reviewed that? He's not going. What's happening here? He just stood for ages. You need a forklift truck to get him away. But I mean, England were off celebrating, weren't they? The umpire had given him out, and he wasn't reviewing it. He just utter disappointment at missing out on 100. Went for a cut shot. Actually, he thought that's the way he could get out today. I know I talked about the bouncer tactic against him. That's possibly another way just to unsettle him. But he was a bit lucky early on in his innings, because he could easily have nicked one of those early balls. He got to 87, so you might on balance say, for the luck I had today, 87 wasn't a bad reward. But I mean, he's such a silky, calm player, isn't he? He's 200 his first 2 Test matches. India captain. Some others have done it in the past. I think Sonny Gavaskar did it. I think
Alistair Cook.
Kohli did it.
Cook's 500s his first 5 Tests as captain. Amazing.
The challenge is to keep it going, isn't it? When the pressure gradually builds on you as a captain, the focus.
And especially when you see a very talented partner play the shot that he did today, Rishabh Pant, who actually played a sort of fairly unnoticeable sort of game today, didn't he? He didn't really attempt very much at all. He did hit one shot over the top, and I thought, I wonder if he's going to go for that again. Well, sure enough, as we've said many times, he very invariably tries to, if he's going to do anything outrageous, it'll be early and over. First ball, Bashir's over, down the wicket, planted it straight to wide long on, where Zach Crawley took a good catch, but straight to him, really. And I just saw the reaction of Shubman Gill, his captain. Agony. More agony than if he got out himself, almost.
Yeah. Well, two things about that. First, it was an interesting piece of bowling from Bashir, because it was 46 miles an hour, which is pretty slow for a spinner, so he was tempting him. And apparently, statistically, that's the slowest ball that Bashir's bowled that's got him a wicket in Test cricket. Right. So, you speculate to accumulate, and I thought it was actually a decent catch by Crawley, because it got there quickly. At long on, you don't expect them to come that quickly. It smacked into his hands, didn't it? It was a skimmer out there. You'd hope he catches it, but it got there quickly. So good catch from Crawley, and give Bashir some credit. And the other thing I would say, there was 2 things, actually 3 things. Gill didn't play a great shot against Bashir at Headingley, did he? He was caught on the deep forward square leg boundary. So, he's got a bit of previous as well. And that dismissal for Shubman Gill at Headingley started India's collapse. That was 4:30 for 4, and that was the 4th wicket. And then we know what happened after that, where they lost 7 for 41 ultimately. So, people rejoice in Pant's double 200s at Headingley. It's kind of part of his game. He will go for it, and it won't always work.
And then after that, we had Nitish Kumar Reddy coming in. Now, India are a much vaunted batting order, allegedly. But you look at Kumar Reddy's record. I know he's made 100 against Australia, but his first-class batting average is 25. And his Test average is about 37, slightly.
Well, he's not played that much.
Well, I was going to say it's falsely flattered by the fact that he made 100 against Australia. But I think coming in at number 6 for India, you'd expect someone slightly better than a person who had a first-class average of 25. I know he's young, and he has made. I was reading somewhere he made a 440 in an under-16 game.
What more do you want then? What more do you
But
want?
it was under-16s, so they probably had boundaries like that behind us. So anyway, I just think India do have a sort of soft underbelly, really, and England know that. Jadeja, obviously a fantastic cricketer, number 7, it's the right spot for him, but it's number 6, Kumar Reddy, number 8, Washington Sundar. I don't know. I think England have got a chance.
Well, Washington Sundar's a decent player to have coming at number 8, isn't he? Have they got actually 3 number 7s in their team and not a number 6? Is that part of the problem?
Well, yes, I think it is. I mean, probably Pant is a number 6. Well, he was number 6, and now he's number 5. It's a lot to expect a keeper to be number 5, actually. So I don't know. Well, I don't know if they've got their batting order slightly wrong.
Have they got their team selection right overall? And they dropped Siddharthan, so so Siddharthan could have batted at 3. They could Karan Nair could have batted at 6, and they could still have had 5 bowlers because Pant gives them that balance. They could have 3 pace bowlers and 2 spinners. They might think, well, in England you need 4 pace bowlers, and Nitish Kumar Reddy gives them that option. But I mean, the big selection as well, which we haven't talked about, or non-selection, was that of Jasprit Bumrah, who he's had a week or so, hasn't he? They don't want him to play this one in Lords. He wants to play at Lords, it seems, and they want him to play at Lords. The problem for India is, are they going to be 2-0 down by the time they get to Lords and therefore almost out of the series? I mean, the gamble is not play him here, perhaps get away with a draw. The forecast is not great for the weekend, is it? Saturday and Sunday, there's a bit of rain around. The pitch is flat, so there may be things go really well, you win the game, but you kind of stay in the series. I think that's kind of their thinking, really, and they don't want to over bowl him because he has had a really serious back injury, so they don't want to over bowl him. These are not easy decisions to make because you're playing with a player's career as well, aren't you?
I think they would have looked at the pitch here, and knowing the record of the pitch, it sort of helps those type of Chris Woakes type bowlers who don't bowl rapid but just get a little bit of movement. And maybe they thought Bumrah would just flog himself to death on here. He'd obviously take wickets, but maybe he would bowl a lot of overs.
Well, he got knocked around last time in the Bairstow-Root partnership, didn't he? I mean, he was playing in that game.
So that would be a memory that they would probably take into the equation as well. Lords, he'll be very dangerous because of the slope and the overhead conditions often you get there. So I can see the practicality of that decision, really.
Yeah. And it's about a player's future. It's about a player's career, isn't it? Not wanting to overbowl someone that's not played that much first-class cricket. Well, he's only played 1 Test match in 6 months. That's his only first-class cricket since the Test series against Australia. So it's easy to say, oh yeah, we want him to play. We've got to play. It's vital he plays. But they have come into the series saying we'll play him in 3 games, and it looks as though they're going to stick to that. And the fact that you've got this situation where there's only 3 days between Test matches, this one and Lords, I thought you've just got to manage his workload, and he clearly wants to play in the Lords Test match. Cricketers do, don't they? They want to play at Lords in the home of cricket.
So what do we think is going to happen here? 310 is it for 5?
Yep.
India. What do we think they're going to get? And I'll give you a little tip for who might be the England leading run scorer when they eventually get to bat.
Well, England will be hoping, I think, to finish it off for under 400. Anything in the 300s, they'll be happy enough. India might say we get 400 plus. Well, that puts us in the game, but it's so hard to stay against this England side. I mean, they're probably going to flop somewhere in the series with their batting, but they've got 7 informed players, all contributed to some extent in that last Test match, and India have got a relatively inexperienced bowling attacks without Jasprit Bumrah, their key spearhead. So get as many as you can, and then get a few more is the word for India.
And it's a good forecast for definitely tomorrow and Friday, so good batting time for both teams. So the average score in a first innings here at Edgbaston is about 330, 340. If you sort of take 33 as an average per wicket, so 330, 340, probably India will exceed. But I think England might bowl them out. Second new ball is still pretty hard, so I think that England might bowl them out for 380, something like that, and get batting.
I think England would take 380. I think they would take 380.
Yeah, they would. Now, Betfair says, a bit of information for you actually, that Joe Root has 920 runs at Edgbaston, average 70 with 300s and 350s. So he loves it here. So I reckon he's a good back for leading run scorer in England. It's a fairly obvious prediction, I suppose, but
really pushed the boat out there.
Rooty is well. I got Duckett right in the last test.
You did.
So I'm going for Root in this test, as long as he doesn't try and reverse sweep his first ball of the morning when he gets in, as he did against Pat Cummins a couple of years ago here. And it's all set up pretty nicely, actually, isn't it? I mean, India have battled away, but they haven't got away from England.
No, they haven't got away. We were a few overs short, mind, weren't we? Another shortened day, 85 overs. So that, those 5 overs lost to the Test match. Yeah, it's the unpredictability of this England side because of the way they play in this Ben Stokes era. 310 for 5. I mean, I said at the start, most of the time you offered a team 310 for 5 at the end of the day's playing a Test match, they probably take it. But India might be thinking, what is this worth? Well, we're all thinking that, aren't we? What is this worth?
With these short boundaries, maybe not as much as it looks. So we'll be back tomorrow to report on the second day's play, and just remember the odds that we gave at the start. So England about 49% likelihood of winning, India about 37%. They are correct at the time of going to press, which is about 7:30 p.m. on the first day. And please remember, if you want to bet, you must be 18 or over, and please gamble responsibly. Thank you very much to Betfair for supporting this podcast. Thanks, Timon, to you. Thanks for the weather, actually, for holding out and not blowing over all our kit as well.